Yo, what is going on, guys? We have Mark back. If you guys haven't seen our last video, we did a deep dive into building a social networking app with Lovable. Tried our best attempt at least. And I want to bring him on again because I think that video just like killed it. And I think you guys really like seeing the behind the scenes of building different applications and stuff using Lovable. So this is going to be a bit of a raw and uncut video. We're just going to literally throw out an idea, what we're trying to build it here in public, and just like literally run into issues, and you'll see us walk through all of this stuff. So it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be a cut up video, but yeah, I'm happy to have Mark back. Mark's a awesome dude. I just spent a week with him, and yeah, I think he could bring a lot to the table and help us build something cool. So the way we frame this, kind of like the last video, I'm kind of the non-technical person. He's a bit more technical, so he could kind of explain these certain things a little bit more than I can. So I figured it'd be cool, for you guys to see both perspectives. So I think just, it works pretty well as far as the dynamic goes. So with that being said, Mark, happy to have you back. Let's do this.
It's a pleasure to be back and excited to be talking back to your audience. And yeah, the plan today is to build something a bit more tricky, a bit more nuanced, and use a crazy hack that you found, Brock, not me, to really step up the game on how this lovable view will actually render. So it's going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it.
All right. So what is the idea? You came up with it, so go for it.
Yeah, we kind of both came up. I came up with the initial idea. You kind of played upon that. So I came up with an idea for building some form of AI agent software product. Obviously, everybody knows AI agents are the rave going into 2025. So like, why not try to build a platform that leverages that and see if it's even possible? That's one of the things I wanted to test in this video is like, yeah, it's a cool idea, but is it even possible? So I guess that's what we'll find out in this video if you stay to the end. So what are your thoughts on something like that? And you even gave me the idea of like, what if we tried to recreate something like Agent, or what is it, Agents.ai?
Agent.ai. So it's a company that the former, or I think the person who invented HubSpot and sold it or whatever, he made that product. It's basically like a marketplace like LinkedIn to hire agents, which is, a play on the UI component, but we're going to try to create a lower resolution version of that, just using text to code, nothing else.
Yeah, sick. That sounds like a great idea. Let's do it.
So let's share screen. All right. So last time we went through the process of going through some ideas on how to do some prompt engineering with Lovable. One thing we're going to do from the get-go is actually look at what is our inspiration piece here. So it's called Agent.ai. And if you go on the actual platform, you're going to see that you have these agents that you can hire. Now, when you click on them, you'll be able to give some form of input. And then that input, once you hire them, is going to ask for something like, give me an idea for a meme, or give me someone to go research as a prospect. So this is the general UI of that platform, and we won't necessarily recreate the whole thing, but we're going to try to capture the ethos of it. Yeah, exactly. So one thing we're going to start off is we're going to use Brock's amazing hack here, which is using 21st.dev to give us some more templates for prompts that give us very robust UIs. They're not just the cookie cutter stuff you get out of Lovable or Bolt or whatever text to web app platform you use. So this is what it looks like, and you would have already seen a video on Brock's channel, but one that I took a look at, I'm like, this would be amazing to use.
Yeah, geez.
Would be this, basically this Tesla bot-esque UI. If I just go back to it here, let me go. All right, and if I expand the whole thing, you're going to see that you have some Tesla bot-esque kind of design, and then as you move your cursor, it follows you, which is super cool. And instead of me having to worry about coding this or asking for it and spending the next hour just trying to do this, what you can do is you can just take the prompt, and I'll go to Lovable, and I'll say, I'm trying to create a web app that allows me to use multiple agents. Start off by just recreating the following UI. Pay attention to all the micro details below. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put in quotes and paste the entire prompt we just got from 21st.dev. Zero input.
Here, wait. Click on the right hand, the little thing too, so you could see, which it's probably already optimized for this just by copying the prompt. But you could see you could have you could optimize it for whatever platform you're using. I would assume the Lovable and Bolt, it's the same exact prompt, but the fact that it's like optimized for these different platforms is just, I don't know, cool to me.
Yeah, completely. So if we click on this and we copy the prompt, let's just be super careful. Good advice. And we'll just put this in quotes here, and then we'll paste this. And what I expect to have is not something functional, because we're going to have to do the same things we usually do, which is create a Supabase, hook up to Supabase so we can start creating some edge functions, connect stuff like OpenAI to enable the agents. But the goal of this is just to try to recreate what we just saw in 21st.dev.
For sure. And I mean, basically, we're probably not, the buttons probably won't even be functional, but we have to, we'll address that after we get the look of the UI, how we want it to look. So
yeah, one step at a time. So this is going to take its time. What's cool is if you even have the courage to go through the code here, just high level, you'll see that it's able to translate pretty well on the back end, exactly what it sees here. So it's good. It's going to take its time. I'll go back to maybe exit so that we'll just wait until it actually spins up.
Nice. Also, one thing I want to mention too is going back to agent.ai, that user interface just looks garbage. I mean, maybe I'm biased or something, but man, it looks like that was built in like 2010 or something. So the fact that we're non-coders and we're able to, spin up something that looks, a bit better.
Oh, is this little competition? This little competition?
We're coming for you. Yeah.
I think that domain alone has a higher net worth than both of us together. So, first stab at this, we already got a copy of that UI where now we have this little cute spotlight here that goes around and around and around. So that's a good starter. And now we want to make this into a proper landing page. So what I'm going to say is, I'll say good job on recreating it. We want to create a full-blown landing page preserving these elements, specifically the robot. And let me just zoom in here for the audience like I did last time. All right, specifically the robot design and responsiveness. But we want to change the header, the captions, and add elements to the page. Wow, my spelling is horrific today. That will allow us to introduce the concept of being able to hire agents on our platform. So I'm going to just send that and see what we get.
Awesome.
The goal is that hopefully this doesn't change. We preserve this component. We just add to it.
Yeah, I like the way that you frame that in the prompt, because that is an important aspect, because a lot of times it will change that, and it just like you have to go back and play around with it. It's just a pain in the ass. If I could pay to have a GPT that prompts the way you prompt, I would pay an ungodly amount of money to be able to formulate everything like you do. So
I created a GPT for Lovable. So
did you? Yeah, you got to send that.
I can link that in the description for your audience to use as well if it's helpful.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Shoot, this looks fire. That's sweet.
This is fire. AI Agents Marketplace. So hire specialized AI agents for your projects. Okay. Pretty cool. Okay. And here you can see the Lovable elements where you always have somehow this bot icon that always pops up. What I wanted to show the audience as well, I'm freestyling here. But when I looked through this site, I noticed that there was these buttons. I'm just trying to find the buttons. Like these border kind of buttons.
Yeah.
So what I can do is I can also copy this prompt and I can go back and say, can you make the Explore Agents button in this design? Right? And then I'll paste this. So now you can also not only have to create the entire page to mimic a component, but if you like one small element from this website, like this globe that moves around and around, or these little buttons that border, or these icons, right? So you can actually change individual elements, like this get started thing that you can hover over and it kind of has this gradient. You can integrate all of these into your app as well.
Yeah, such a hack. I mean, trying to explain how to make that beforehand, even like giving a screenshot and saying make it look like this.
Yeah.
It's just such a, everybody knows it's kind of like a storm when you try to do that. So this just makes it so simple. And then what we could do is we could then just say for all buttons, replicate this style, based on this UI component, and it could do that for all the different buttons, not just one. So it's just pretty cool.
Exactly. All right, so we got some bug here. I'm just gonna click try to fix from the get-go. Let me see what the error even looks like. Looks like there's some mishmash with the element I tried to make it recreate on the button and the rest of the UI. So I'm hoping I don't have to intervene, but let's take a look here and see if it can resolve itself.
Yeah. And that's why we do these long form videos, right? Because we do run into errors. It's not just cutting through all this stuff and just showing what works. So sometimes, it's useful for you to be able to see how we fix errors when we do run into them.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Like we are now. Cannot read properties of yada 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 yada. Okay. Okay. So it's CSS issue as well. So rule of thumb is I'm gonna try fix one more time, and then I have an alternate path to try to fix this.
All right. Let's see. Shoot.
It's all good. We live for errors. So I want to ask it, why? Yeah, let's zoom in here. Why do you think that you're encountering the same error over and over again? Is there a specific issue changing the style or format of the button to mimic the component I provided? Ruminate on this before you respond to increase the likelihood that we resolve this now. So again, you like to use the word ruminate. It's a heavy word to LLMs. It makes it think like reflect, reason, try to take a step back. So root cause of the error. So keep saying this add variables thing. Worst case, if it's giving us a headache, I'll give up that button component. Not a big deal. It's not a game changer. But let's see here. So if I take a look, the next thing I like to always look at is, am I getting different errors? So this is the same error over and over again. So one thing I'll also like to do is go to ChatGPT, not necessarily O1 Pro, but I'll say that I keep encountering this issue. Okay. And then if this doesn't work, depending on how important it is, I'll either walk away or we'll push through. So ideally we push through.
Yeah.
So I'll say I keep encountering these errors. It's a bit small here. With creating a web app, I'm trying to integrate this element, not sure what's going wrong. So let's go back to npm here. What's the button we wanted to integrate? It's this thing. Yeah, so let's put this here in quotes. Let me just paste, copy this. Yep. Well, to actually copy the prompt itself, why not?
Yeah, so I was gonna say.
Paste this here and see what O1 has to say about this. And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll get ChatGPT to actually write a prompt for Lovable, but just saying, can you concisely summarize what you think needs to be fixed and just use a command.
Yeah. And there we go. O1 is ruminating.
It's ruminating, yeah.
Yes. No, that's a fire. We discussed that in the last video. That's such a good word to use to get these to function how you want them to, because really sometimes that's all it needs to do is actually think through these things, and it won't do it unless you kind of prompt it to sometimes. Let's see.
Interesting. So important. You said, remember, do not change the component unless it's required. Typically, these cannot read properties defined. So it appears that a part of the prompt in 21st Dev says don't change something. So I think that command is mishmashing with me saying, can you change something? Which
Yeah.
is good to know. So can you act as a prompt engineer for a second and create a hyper succinct prompt to my web app builder on how to get around this issue?
Yeah, what a hack using ChatGPT 01 for that to like identify that, because we would have been spinning in circles trying to figure that out. But the fact that it, and that makes complete sense because those prompts at the end do always say that don't change, any this component or whatever.
Yeah. So here it's put check your Tailwind version. So a bunch of technical jargon stuff. We'll go back in here, and if this still doesn't resolve it, I'm
Move
okay
on.
to roll back and move on because it's all
Yeah.
good. Okay, so pretty much O1 put us on the right path here with this prompt. We just clicked fix one because we had this weird error that said you have a permission error, which is a very different error from what we were encountering, which was a positive feedback loop. And once we clicked on try to fix it, it was able to resolve itself, and now we have a button. I can kind of see this little border thing that we were going for here, but it's not abundantly clear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this feature within Lovable where you can select a specific component and just adjust that component. So you can see here when I'm highlighting it, I see that it has
Looks like there's a border.
Yeah, exactly.
It's definitely got to be probably something with the user interface, like coloring aspect of it, where you can't, it's there, but you can't. It's just not reflected, and you can't see it because of the way the background looks. Which these are just tiny little details, but the fact, going over this, showing you how, if you are particular about something like this, how you could fix it. That's kind of why we're going over something like this in this video.
So I clicked on the element and I said, can we change the color of this button to white and have the border dynamically move? We'll see what that does. Again, this is not a hill I'm prepared to die on, so we'll just move on after this and actually try to build the real app.
Yep. And this goes for any component you build. It's not just a button. You could use these concepts we're talking about for like a form or all these other UI components as well. So just keep that in mind when you run into these issues. This could hopefully be a good resource for you.
Yep, completely. So let's see if this takes shape here. Shouldn't be too much of a hard request. There we go. So we got the button to be white. Now the whole moving background, no, I can't even see it.
Yeah, it's whatever. I say we just move on.
It is what it is. Yeah. So we got this page. All right. So let's actually make it do something when we click on Explore Agents. Just for simplicity, we're gonna actually hook up Supabase. We're gonna make a Supabase account now because we're gonna need to enable some functionality at some point. So we might as well just do it now. So let's go to Supabase here. And then I'm going to just go and create a project. So let's create a new project here. And let's call this project Agents AI. There we go. No copyright there. and then we'll create a password.
For those that don't know, most people watching this probably do know after seeing previous videos. Supabase is just the back end of our application. So obviously what you're seeing is the front end. What we're building on Lovable, we need to build a back end so we could store things. We could, have access to different agents and stuff, different users and payments, all that stuff. So that's why we're setting this up now.
Yes. So this will take a bit of time. So we'll cut to when this is all set up because this is just dead time for now.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, so we have our Agents AI Supabase set up. We're not going to do anything with it now. We're just going to go back into Lovable. We're going to click on this Supabase icon.
Mark, it probably won't load yet because if you go back to Supabase,
you speak too soon. You speak too soon.
Yeah, there you go.
I think it's all about, it takes like 15 to 30 seconds to propagate, but when you click here, you should click on Connect.
Got it.
And it should be straightforward because it's a vanilla brand new database. And one more thing for the audience again is just a reminder, in something like Bolt, you don't necessarily need to hook up to a database to enable building functions, but with Lovable, to start really integrating different functions and features, it's your easiest way to actually integrate it to the app. So step one is just hook up to Supabase.
There we go. Nice.
All right, so we're good to go now. So now comes this, the next initial prompt that's really gonna factor in what we're trying to build. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the site and then I'm going to go here and then I'm going to screenshot. I'm going to do a couple screenshots actually. So let's take this and let's paste that into Lovable. And then, are there any other components here? No, let's just show some more examples of agents. Okay, well, do copy, paste. All right, so when, let's just zoom in here. So when the user clicks Explore Agents, they should be taken to a web page that has a marketplace of different agents for different use cases, similar to the UI images I've attached. Try and recreate around 10 unique agents mimicking the interface I've provided, with an icon assigned to each agent, as well as a small description and a Hire Me button for each card. So again, the goal of this is to create the shell now of the first step. What we're going to want to do is obviously make these agents functional so that they do things. We're not going to worry about making all 10 functional, but at least let's say one or two just to show you the general concept. So let's click on this, and then giving the inspo of agent.ai should also help it think through how to design this UI.
Interesting. I'm interested to see how much it'll try to replicate the actual how the UI looks as far as coloring and all that stuff and theme and stuff. Obviously, if it looks too much like that, we'll just change it and maybe even use 21st Dev to come up with some UI components or whatever. But yeah, I'm interested to see how that works, because usually when you screenshot, right, it kind of just kind of replicates it as much as possible. So
yeah, unless you say be inspired by or something like that, where
I guess that's a good point with the prompting.
Yeah, just taking a look here.
And some of these are so cool.
Yeah, look at this. Yeah, splash cursor. Now, whether or not it's useful, that's a good UI. That's a separate question.
Yeah.
But I can even probably give it a UI like this and be like, I want it to be this minimalistic, that kind of thing. Yeah. So let's take a look. What's going on here? So, yep. So if we click on Explore Agents, does it do anything?
Should take us to a new page, hopefully. Nothing?
All right. The button. Oh, hold on. I noticed something. We now have a new Explore Agents button.
Oh,
that's no bueno. So,
see if it's functional, maybe.
I have a feeling it is.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well,
but that's
good.
That's no bueno. So, so now we have two Explore agents on the same page, one functional and one not. Let's zoom in here again. So I noticed something very interesting. I'll actually zoom out for a second. Do you remember when I used the select button?
Yeah.
And I clicked on this. So this says div. So to me, div, as an element, shouldn't denote a button. It should actually say button. When I go to here, it actually says button. So in a way, it kind of made this design as a part of the web page and completely non-functional. Whereas this one acknowledges that it is a button, meaning when you click on it, it can do something.
Yeah.
So using that clue from before, I'm going to say the first Explore Agents appears to be a div, whereas it should be a button component like the one on the top right. There should only be one button, and it should be the one I'm selecting now. So I'm just going to go and select.
I need to use that select feature more often.
It's helpful.
I usually just screenshot it. Yeah, but that's a perfect example as to why that could be helpful using that, because we wouldn't have caught that if it weren't for that.
Yeah, it was a complete accident, but there we go. It's good.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention too, not to give too much like Lovable sauce, but I'm pretty sure they're working on some form of feature where we could just automatically edit elements, so we don't need to like prompt it and ask the Lovable agent to do so. We could then just go and like say if we wanted to change the text of a button, we could just click on it, and then it gives us like a Wix sort of user interface where we could like actually edit the text or something. Which I think when they implement something like that will be super helpful instead of having to constantly message back and forth with an agent over a small little detail. So that should be interesting.
Yeah.
When that comes out.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. It would make life a lot easier. So now
Yeah.
we have this thing that works, amazing, but we don't want this second button. So I'm just gonna say, remove this. Very simple prompt, but should be straightforward now that I'm using that select function again. Now that this one's working, this is good. Obviously, we could spend some more time on the landing page, making it more descriptive, but let's focus
Yeah.
on functionality first.
Yep. Okay, there we go.
All right, so we're in business now. This is still working. And again, the reason why I keep doing this is not just because I'm very playful, but more so I'm always checking that we didn't break old components by doing new things. So we click on Explore Agents, and now we
Nice.
have this, which looks okay. My OCD's acting up where not all the hires are aligned. We
Yeah.
have some too much description here. Interestingly, I think it took usernames from here. Yeah, so James 3. All right, so we can say we don't want usernames. What else can we say? Yeah, okay, so let's make a list of changes to make to the agent marketplace. I like to do this sometimes, like I said last time, in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 format. So 1,
Yep.
remove the usernames. And I'll put an example in each bracket so it knows exactly what I'm talking about. E.g. Dharmesh. Remove credit per task. E.g. 1 credit per task. Okay, and I'll say remove. Wow, that was rough. Remove tasks completed, e.g. this thing. Okay, this should naturally line things up. And then 4, make the descriptions of the agents only 3 to 5. How many words does it overflow? Analyze your competitors and get, 3 to 5 words long max.
Yeah, I agree. You would not want to have it look like that because that gets on my OCD too.
Yeah, exactly. And also, these are all features we'd have to upkeep. So if you wanted this to exist, you'd have to create a function and a database entry in Supabase to store how many credits you've used, etc.
Yep.
Now, my brain is happy. This looks symmetric, and now we just have to worry about actual functionality, because when you click hire, it does nothing.
Yep.
So what I'd want to do is I want to go to one of these here. I think Meme Maker, if you click hire, it gives you some like input. Okay, yeah, so generate a meme for this topic, and you click go. So let's use some inspo. Let's take this. All right. Good job. When a user clicks hire, we should be taken to a new screen. Let's just zoom in. A new screen that allows the user to provide some form of standardized input relevant for the task. And when they click submit, it is sent to an LLM. And I'm going to tell it, like we talked about last time, I'll foreshadow. I will specify which LLM and how later. So giving a little preview of my intention.
Yep.
And then I will tell it, for now, create the next page shell without worrying about functionality for the following agents. Let's just zoom out. Let's see which ones we want to prioritize. Let's say the first 3.
Sure. Yeah, that looks good.
All right, so I'll say competitor, analyst, web page copy editor, and AI content generator. Now, can we make this page prettier is one question I'm asking myself while it's going to load.
Yeah, and the question is if 24/7.dev has the, potential UI components that we could use that could match our app.
Yeah, so one cool thing here is that on the landing page side, you can also look at different elements specifically. So AI chat, if you go on that, it's going to give you some designs for AI chat. If you go to, let's see here, badges. There you go, badges. That's what you see there. See, I like this kind of minimalistic design, but I don't know if we'll be able to fully understand that from. So these are backgrounds. Yeah, the only thing on my mind is the icons are in Lovable themselves, so we might be a headache to change it.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. So now it says that if I click on hire, there should be a new page. Let me see. Okay, that one didn't work. That one didn't work. And that one didn't work. So it goes to a new page, but they're all blank. What's going on? Where are the fields for input?
Still.
I didn't even click anything yet, so.
Oh, actually?
Yeah. So entire page is blank. And then it's offering us to refactor our code because it's getting too long. Fix this and feel free to also refactor the code.
Changes already applied. Interesting.
So, are we having some form of caching issue? They're just not working, or let's go back to Agent Marketplace. Okay. And then let's just refresh this page. We click on hire. Okay, so now,
okay.
Yeah, I think it was just cached incorrectly. So now there's some form of input for this one. Let's go back. And also a little handy tip is if you want to go back to somewhere like you just saw me do, you can click on this little drop down and you can navigate to different parts of the app that have another page. So you can go back.
I didn't even know you could do that.
So it's very handy.
Nice and easy.
So now we go web copy editor. That looks good. You put a web page URL. We'll try to do something with it. That's cool. Then the last one, AI content generator.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, okay, cool. So now we're going to try to integrate normal GPT-4o into this model. So let's just try and ask it from the get-go, can you integrate OpenAI's GPT-4o in the application so that we can send the inputs to these 3 first agents to the LLM and then receive, parse, and display the response to the user on the respective subpages. Okay, I'm going to also say ask me for my Open AI API key as well. All right, so we'll see if it actually works. Sometimes it defaults to GPT-4, no matter what you have to override it. But let's just add the API key for now. So I'm just going to take a second, grab my key, place it in there, and we'll go from there. All right, so we're going to add this key here. I'm going to submit. It's added successfully. And then it says create an edge function to securely make OpenAI calls. The good thing is if you go to edge functions or go to settings rather, and then edge functions, you'll see here that it's stored that OpenAI key. So we know that works. All right. So now apparently it works. So let's go to one of these here and let's just say competitors. Let's say Brock.
Yeah.
I'm just going to see if this works in general. If it does anything, if it's even sending it to OpenAI.
It's a good sign that it's taking a little second to analyze.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So when it takes a long time.
Oh, there we go. Let's see if it's actual non-dummy data. That's the question.
I mean, I only gave it as Brock, so
yeah,
we would not first need to. Okay, yeah. So this looks good. I'm going to ask it a question. So I'm going to use a new feature from Lovable actually. So if we go back here, I think is it settings? Let's go to. Okay, so let's go to here. I think it's called labs is the new function.
I actually haven't heard of this.
Yeah, so if you go
Maybe a little bit
here
more
and
technical.
you go to
Oh,
labs
right.
and set
Yep.
this on, and we go back to our project. Okay. All right. So now in here, we can actually ask a question, chat only, where you can actually talk to the LLM itself without changing anything. You're basically like talking to ChatGPT, but in Lovable while you're
With
building
the
it.
context of your application,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So it has, yeah.
Exactly. So I'll ask it like, are you sure the app is using GPT-4o and not GPT-4?
So it looks like it's using 4.0, right?
Yeah,
Unless there's a
thi-
typo.
this, uh, wow, now I'm blanking, but it should be GPT-4o, I think. Now I'm blanking, so I'm gonna just go on Perplexity, how to call GPT-4o OpenAI API. Think there should be a dash there because that's where all the models you specify. Yeah, GPT-4o, GPT-4 Mini, that all looks good.
Looks like it actually automatically switched to the 4.0 mini, which I mean, sure is fine, but
Yeah, it's with a dash. I blanked for a
okay.
second, but I'll go back to default. No, you're good. Actually, no. Before I even say you're good, let's check the other ones. So this one,
Cool.
I don't know what this is gonna do if I give it some copy. I assume this is the placeholder, but if I want to put some website copy, hi, we build agents for Lovable. We do edit copy.
That's quick.
Yeah, that was so quick. It already
Yeah.
updated it to GPT-4 Mini. So I want to say switch it back to GPT-4o. Interesting.
Yeah, that was so fast.
It was too fast. So you
Yeah.
also get an understanding for the heartbeat of these different LMs. If it's like just perfect, where it actually thinks for a second, then it's GPT-4o. If it takes 5 years, it's GPT-4. If it's too quick, it's probably Mini. So if we refresh this page now, and we do that same thing again, I make apps with Lovable, and then we send edit copy.
Yeah, it seems more like it.
Okay. It seems quick, but let's go back to here. Now we can verify this just for the audience. So what we could do is we could edit the code, transfer it to GitHub, skim through and comb through it to verify. But I'm just more going by touch and feel right now. So anyway, we got the main functionality down. Now that they're quote unquote working, let's just try the last one. So let's say blog post, write about how to use AI for non-technical people, specifically generative AI. Okay, so let's do generate content. It's thinking, so that's good. It's not instant like the last one. So we could indeed be using GPT-4o. All right, if we go down, we have a response. And the next thing I want to do is I noticed that every single one of our responses here is not in Markdown. So you have all the hashtags, so it's not appearing properly on the screen.
Right.
Can we ensure that all responses from the LLM are formatted properly in Markdown? All right, so we'll send that. And the next question I'll ask is, are we storing anything in Supabase? My hunch is no, because we haven't had any pop-ups, so there's no actual tables there. What would be good is actually to store at least the user content that's submitted, even if it's not at a user level, even though we didn't add authentication yet.
Right.
All right, so let's try this again here. Whatever. Talk about AI. Okay, and I'll generate content. So now all I care about is that when we receive the response, it's now parsed in a way and formatted in a way that the headers are not hashtags, they're actual headers, and it looks cleaner. So this looks way, way better. So now I'm going to ask, can we store all the results in Supabase from the generated content from each agent and show some form of history of the last generations. Maybe just timestamp the result as a label on each agent card's history. So I'll see what we get with this, because I tried to explain it in a way that might make sense, but it's probably a better way to say it. But let's see what it can do here. So I'd expect that it now is going to create some form of Supabase table function to store these things. And even if you're not technically inclined, I just want to see what it's trying to store here. So ID, agent type, which is the actual type of agent, so AI content creator, the prompt I used, and the response and the created at, which to me looks good. So if I save that, okay, so that worked the first time. So now even this will go blank, and I'll say again, talk about AI, and I'll just wait for it to finish because it looks like it's still not done.
And so for the reason we're setting all this up in Supabase with the Edge function is so that way when we create a login for users, all this information gets stored to their profile. Otherwise, you know, if you've never used Lovable before, don't have a background with it, it'd just like be erased. So we need to be able to store these for the users in order to make this as much of an actual functioning app as possible.
Yeah.
Interesting error here.
Exactly. So, okay, this is a Supabase error. I can just see it at the project level here. We're having some problemos. All right, so now we're going to click on blog post. We'll say again, talk about AI, generate content. I'm going to refresh Supabase while that's doing its thing, just so I can see if it actually created a table, because this is where ideally our information is going to be stored by the agent type. So now it has some information here. I want to go and refresh this page and see, did it do anything? Did it write anything? So, and yes,
okay, nice.
It did. So we have my original prompt, we have the response, and you can, yeah, go ahead.
We don't even need to, sorry to cut you off, we don't even need to save it, right? Whenever it gets generated, it automatically sends its data to the Supabase table, right?
Yeah, we don't quote unquote need to actually save it.
Okay, got it.
I wanted, so you see how we refreshed here, to have generation history. So I can actually see what we did before, which is super cool.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so now we figured out, like, functionally, what you'd do next is we'd go one by one to try to make each one work a certain way, but you get the gist. That's kind of the general concept. Yeah. Let's try to actually make it quote unquote pretty, because right now we have a disconnect between our homepage, which looks super beautiful, and this thing, which looks more like paint. So
like agent.ai.
Exactly. Wow, you really want to get in trouble. So this is what I'm going to try to do right now. I'm going to freestyle a bit. If we go back to the little homepage with the robot, let me just see where that was.
One thing, too, that I've noticed is a little extra hack with 21st.dev is sometimes there is a certain user that makes certain UI components, and they make different kind of multiple looking UI components, but for different components. So essentially, if you wanted to copy the exact style, sometimes if you click on a profile, you know, it's sometimes shooting in the dark, but sometimes you'll see multiple things that look like they're kind of congruent with each other and, you know, work together well. So that's a hack for the users sometime if you ever want to make things look like it's, you know, structured and the user interface all looks kind of similar.
Yeah, I love that.
But
now,
I'm not saying we need to do that for this video, because odds are that user doesn't have other, you know, components we could use to make this.
Yeah, completely.
Fully built out.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to freestyle a bit. So instead of giving the same component to Lovable and say, do this, if you remember, this kind of bit us in the back, which is the remember, do not change all these components. All I want to know is what to apply to this web page to make it look like that general style. So I'm going to go back to GPT, and I'm going to say, here's the raw code for this style again. What I want you to do is instruct our text to web app builder to change the UI I've provided you in the image to be congruent style-wise with the code styling below. So I'll put this here, and now I'm just worried about extracting the core components of it, and then I'm going to show it what we got so it knows our baseline. Okay. I'm going to, at the very bottom of the prompt, I'm going to put feel free to also have boilerplate code to provide to Lovable. I'll say text to web app builder to help it understand how best to change the UI, coloring, etc. So I want to try to lean on GPT versus me saying, no, do it like this, do it like this.
Smart. And guys, notice how comprehensive Mark's prompts are when he's building this. Like, that's the difference between building a pretty basic app and a really good functioning app that looks good, is he's just super good. And that's why I like having him on the channel, because he's very good at like prompting how, I mean, that's his company, Prompt Advisors.
Yeah.
How to prompt this to get it to do what you want it to do, because these LLMs really can do a lot of amazing stuff if you know how to interact with them correctly, which you are an expert in that field. So it's just cool to see, and something I want to know for the audience.
Appreciate you. So let's see what we got here. Below is boilerplate code. So I see what it's trying to do here. It's a bit too verbose. Ideally, it would be more succinct. We don't see how here it's trying to add the spotlight or 3D thing.
Yeah.
I don't care for that. So let's see if we can just get away with this. Taking a risk here. But I'll do this. I'll kamikaze this little prompt, and then if it doesn't work, then plan B is to go back to our homepage and try to just say, do it in this style. Take the format in this style.
Right.
So let's try this. All right, so it did not understand what we're going for. Instead of just actually changing the color scheme, etc., it changed the general quote-unquote vibe of the font and the cards that when you hover over, it shows, which is not really what I'm going for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to history here. I'm going to restore what we had before, which is this, which I think was more easy on the eyes. And then what I'll do is I'll try to just actually show a screenshot of that original homepage design we were going for, and have it try to replicate at least the either color scheme or just the fonts.
Yeah.
All right, so it looks like we're back to business here. If we go one of these, yes, that's working fine. I like to be paranoid, so if we go back here, we still have history. Amazing. So I'm just gonna say, I want to replicate the black and white design similar to the image, as well as similar to our original homepage lander. So there is symmetry between the landing page and the actual application. Okay, let's see if that one will fare a bit better than our first attempt. Much, much, much better. So this looks a lot more like our original vibe of that homepage, which is clean, which I like. If you go to this, even this is in dark mode, so that looks clean as well. So that looks overall pretty good. And yeah, Brock, any other ideas here on what you might want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to do something that's just gonna like completely screw up everything. Maybe let's just like, for the sake of it, try to add some cool button for the hire button, just to like, you know, show how to kind of like take a component from 21st.dev to add it to our Lovable app. I know we ran into a little bit of issues earlier trying to do that. Maybe let's just try that, give it 1 or 2 shots, see if that's something easy to implement. Because thoughts or no?
No, let's do it. No, I don't cower from any challenge, so let's do this. There was one button I really liked, which was, if we go back to the original page, go to the bottom here. There's these shiny ones I really like.
Oh yeah, the gradient ones, or
Yeah, the gradient ones. If you see it,
yeah, on the left. Hold up, go down a little bit. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Those.
good eye. Yes. So let's see if we can do this. I like it. I like it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. For all the buttons that say higher, we want to apply the style below. Okay, so I'm going to audit this. I'm going to take this out here, the remember thing. Do not change the components thing. Create all mentioned files in full. Okay, that's fine. This looks fine. And let's go for, you know what? I won't even tell it what it's going to go for. Let's see which one it chooses as the actual color.
Got it. Oh, there we go. Nice. Okay, back to it.
Nice. Yeah, so we got this.
Sweet.
So that's working. Now, magic
Great.
question is it functional? Again, when you're always developing these apps, you don't get hyped. You want to be paranoid. So you want to click on higher here. Good.
Nice. I didn't think it was going to work.
Good. So that's good. Now, if we want to be nitpicky, it would be ideal that these also are in the same style. Or not,
Okay.
right? It could be overwhelming for the user just see non-stop gradients everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. What else is on your list, Brock? You said you had something.
Yeah. Go back to 21st.dev.
Yep.
I like the idea of some form of like cool little background, like to maybe put behind the agent elements. So maybe scroll a little bit or go down to background. I'm thinking something like, you see that square grid background right there? Oh shoot. Yeah. Yeah, but the one in the middle on the top row.
Middle top row, this thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
right there. So maybe something like that. I don't know if that'd be.
You want to put this? You want to put this behind the entire?
Yeah, I was
page?
thinking behind that, like where it shows the agent marketplace.
Okay.
Obviously, it's not going to show that on the cards, which we don't want it to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to see just if it's feasible to do that.
Following style to the background behind. Okay, I'll say behind all the cards.
And that's the important part, right? Is understanding how to identify where you want it placed. Because if you say place it on top, it's gonna, delete everything we have, right? We need to make sure it's like on the very bottom of all of these different cards here. Oh, there you go. Great.
So I'm gonna click on the div here because that div should be the background. So I'm gonna apply the following style to the background. I'm just gonna say to this because now I'm basically clicking on div, so I don't want to risk saying background and have it get confused. And let me just take out this remember thing. Let's give it a shot.
Oh, there we go. Sick. That looks great.
Does it? I can't see anything.
Yeah, look, scroll down a little bit. It's
there we go. I see it. That's clean. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that just adds a little bit of adds dynamic feature to this instead of making it just all blank.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like
nice and easy to add.
So are you comfortable with me publishing? I want to take a look at what this entire thing looks like. So let's do deploy here. We'll get some link.
Because one thing I've noticed is I actually built a landing page yesterday with Lovable and 21st.dev. Sometimes only certain aspects of it fit onto the screen. So, oh no, that works. It's fitting the whole screen.
I mean, that part looks good. We are missing one big component here, which is I can't go back to home. So,
True.
So we need to make sure that we need a way to go back to the landing page. Right now, we can't. Now,
What are your thoughts on adding some form of doc from 21st.dev to navigate between pages?
Okay, it's important that we don't overkill, but let's see what we got here. Let's see.
That's my job, Mark, is to
overkill.
push your boundaries here.
Okay.
But I understand what you're saying because we'd be able to implement on the UI, but making that functional to where it actually shows the different.
Because right now we just have two options: marketplace or home.
Yeah.
So it would be slightly redundant unless you also want to change this theme, from between dark mode and light mode, kind of thing.
Yeah. Would it be tough to just implement that and say, okay, delete this, and this, and only keep the home, the agents tab, and the thing? Or is that too much?
All right, we'll give it a try. But if it doesn't
Let's
work,
try it. If it doesn't work the first shot,
it's
let's
all your fault.
forget
Okay,
it.
but
Yeah.
let's just make sure we can go back to the home page.
Yeah.
And then we'll try this experimental feature because right now, this is no bueno. The background does look cool though, so you did a good job on that. Okay, so we go on here back to home. We're not going back home. Now, one thing I'm worried about is, did our landing page disappear off the face of the code base that we worked so hard on? Right now, back to home doesn't go anywhere. What happened to our landing page?
Does it not even show like when you click on the index thing with the drop down?
No,
It doesn't show there either.
that's why
Oh,
I'm
no.
worried. Also, like, I never gave it a command to delete it. We just wanted to move on from that. Oh, we don't have a route for the landing page. That's worrying. Okay, so it does remember it, right? So we have this. We go to explore agents and go back to home. Okay, so
Added some weird button for no reason,
yeah,
but easy fix.
easy fix. Now that we know what to do, let me just remove that. Let's go back here. Delete this. Not needed. Okay, so now that navigation seems to be working. I thought our hard work here went to waste, but we still have my ADHD friendly toy here. Okay, that looks better. Let's click on explore agents. Okay. Hire. Okay, we also don't have backspace to go back to the marketplace, which is not good. So let's give your doc ID a try. All right, so this is going to take some love, pun intended. So we want to be able to have the home button as well as the ability to switch between dark mode and light mode using a dock similar to the design below. It should be on every single page after the landing page. So every sub page in the marketplace. Okay, so let's give this a shot. Here's the code. Okay, and then let's take this out. All right, so we gave this a couple tries, and what we got was this dock that appears at the bottom of the screen, which is super cool. And you can click on home, it'll take you back home. Now, this light mode only changes the actual bars light mode. What I'll be curious to see is, can we change the entire UI? Might be tricky because
Of all the elements and stuff we have. Like with 21st.dev, I was thinking the same thing when we initially implemented that.
Now, what can change is these cards have a blank color, right? So these are not elements, the cards themselves, the color. So we could perhaps change that. So we'll have to give it a shot. And then one more thing we could add is, you don't want to always click on home because technically you have no way of going back to the agent marketplace. So a couple changes. We need also a back button on the dock to allow us to go to the last page. Right now, if I click into the hire button and use the tool, I can only go back to the landing homepage, not the agent marketplace. And then number 2, can we switch the card color to white when we switch the dock icon theme from dark mode to light mode? So I'll send that as a question. There. Oh, okay. We got some confusion here, but
It's almost there. Yeah, that's what I was like initially thinking.
Okay, so if we go to here, okay, we got some UI issues that the fact that this is okay. This goes back, so that works. Okay, nice. That works. Cool, nice. Now, if we go back to these pages, does this do anything here? Okay, so it doesn't. See how like I'm also testing to see like where it does work and where it doesn't work. I don't think top left works with the way this functions.
Got it.
So changes to make. All right, so place the dock where it was before, dynamically at the bottom of the visible screen. Now I'm using the word visible screen because I want it to follow us as we go down. Number 2, remove the, what was that thing? Back to home. That's already, already on the screen on the top left, since we have the dock functionality for this. 3, light mode and dark mode should also apply to the cards on the sub pages of the tools / agents.
There we go. And obviously, for the audience, we're running into a bunch of issues here, but that's the point of these videos. Like, we want to showcase the errors you run into and how we go through them, especially Mark with his prompting skills, to help you potentially troubleshoot the apps that you build, as opposed to just us cutting this up, making it look pretty, saying we could build this in 10 minutes, that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I hope, even though we're running into issues, I hope this is valuable to you guys to see how we work through these problems and, testing the boundaries of these platforms. So
yeah, end of the day, we're making some good progress, and we learned what a dock is, so that's cool. All right, so now we got this at the bottom. We don't have the back to home thing. That is cool. This is actually nice. It follows us as we go down. Good. We go to higher. First test. Okay, failed that first test. Doesn't change the actual toggle theme. Does it go back to the last page? Yes. Let me switch this dark mode thing. Cool. Let's go. If we go back from here, it's smart enough to know that back and home still go to home. Good. So what I'm going to go back into is here. I'm going to screenshot this in action of the failure. That's something I like to do as well. So notice here on the sub pages how the underlying cards on the screen are not changing when I click light mode. And then I think this is one of those things where it might be helpful that I actually select the container if I can. And you can notice one thing here. This is very informative about how your app is designed. So notice, I thought this was one quote-unquote component where I could just click one thing. But this is actually 2 sub-components. So I don't even think I should select one because it might only change that one. So I'm going to unselect this. And ideally, I want to say to change the entire screen. Make sure that both divs on the screen change colors as I change themes on these subpages. So again, super helpful to know what you're dealing with when you have these elements.
Yeah.
All right, so it says it worked. Let's refresh this. Let's click that. So it's changing the background, not the card, but I'll settle for that.
That's good.
That's fine. So now let's move back to here. And what's cool is another testing thing I'm doing is making sure that when you click on toggle theme, it inherits that theme across different pages. So if I go back, this should all be dark. So that's all good. So let's temporarily, again, publish this again for now, because when we published it the first time, that's when I realized we didn't even have a home page. So when we publish it, ideally, when I refresh, it should have our lander, and then we can go to explore agents and then navigate through there.
Nice.
All right, so it says deployed. So if I refresh here, I should see our lander. Beauty. Where's my robot? There we go. There's our robot. And we go to explore agents. We got this. We got our dock. Looks decent. We got this. We can switch that up. Very nice. Awesome.
All right, so this is kind of what we have. I think we've been on for maybe an hour and a half, something like that. We obviously have a pretty cool lander here. We have a really awesome user interface with a cool interactive robot that we got from 21st.dev. We got a template for a user interface component, pasted it into our Lovable app. It was actually pretty simple to build. I'm pretty happy with this. We even have a marketplace where we could view different AI agents that actually are functional. If we had a bit more time, Mark, I think we could be able to add some payment systems to where we could have credit-based usage for these different things. However, we just didn't have time in this video. But yeah, that's something that you could definitely implement in the future. But yeah, I'm happy we made this. What are your thoughts on this, Mark?
Yeah, completely. I think design-wise, this is a big step forward on what you get typically from any text-to-web apps like Bolt and Lovable, and that's obviously your hack there. And like you said, implementing a credit system to be very close to agent.ai would be cool. one thing that comes with that is it's not just like a one-time payment that you would process in Lovable. So we'll need to set up webhooks for Stripe API. We'll need to go through a lot of a testing process and then marry some edge functions in Supabase to make that work. So that could be maybe a future video. But for the scope of this one, I think it's good just to show the audience how can we get to a place where it's beautiful and functional from the get-go.
For sure, I 100% agree. I'm definitely happy with this. So sweet, yeah, Mark, I'm happy we could have you on again. I know we did this a couple weeks ago. My audience loved it. I think this is just a great dynamic of building kind of cool things like this on like longer form videos. So if the audience, if you guys enjoy this type of content, let us know, and we could always continue to like bump out maybe one of these a month or so. So yeah, I hope you guys got some value. And Mark, again, thanks for hopping on. Go check out Mark's channel if you haven't already. He breaks down a lot of amazing things, not just platforms like Lovable, but dives really deep into kind of like how LLMs work and like deep into kind of like actually AI and how you could, use it either in your business, personal life, all of these things. So I think both of our channels are pretty good ones to stay ahead of the AI curve. So
No bias whatsoever.
no bias at all. So cool. All right, that's it for the video. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, see ya.